All right, Trey here with my review of Just Breathe by Dan Brule. I really appreciate how early on in the book, Dan mentions that there are so many ideas about the right way to breathe. But at the same time, he pays homage to all the people that inspired him to get into breathing practice. And he also spends a lot of time really exploring the practices that other people in the breathing arena offer to people. And I appreciate that so much. In fact, he recently went on a podcast with Patrick McCune of Oxygen Advantage. Patrick is someone with whom Dan has a great deal of disagreement as far as the way they present breathing. But he went on that podcast anyway, and I just love that he did that. And they had a really fantastic conversation together. And I really love what Dan said in this regard is that it matters less what kind of breathing that you're doing or who you are learning to breathe from. What he talks about is that the practice that works is the one that you will do. And what's important is to find what works for you and to do it. So that's what I got early on in the book that I really appreciated. He also talks about other people like Stig Severinsen, who is a free diver who has the world record for static apnea, which is holding your breath on the top of the water. That person is really fascinating. And this idea, Stig Severinsen talks about that you can actually increase the capacity of the lungs. Stig actually wanted to break the record for free diving, and he spent several years, I think it was 4 years, that he worked on his lung capacity. And he went from what is the average capacity of an adult male of 6 to 7 liters to 14 with sheer will, which is incredible that that's possible. And he talks about Patrick McCune, who I mentioned, and also Wim Hof. And I just love this. And what I found is, Alchemy of Breath has a certain way of doing breath practice. But then you have people like John Paul Crimi, who does a similar practice, but has some variation. Another person named Will Potter that I've worked with that does a similar breathing practice, but there's some differences in intensity and length of the session. And then you have an organization called InBreath. And so all of these organizations have variation on the same theme. And I've found value in engaging in practice with all of them. So anyway, I just really love that Dan focuses on other people in the field of breathing. Because I think there's something to take from everyone. I think everybody has something to offer. Another point, the fact that you experience the positive effects of breathing practices for many minutes, if not hours, after the conclusion of the practice. One of the things that I like to point out to my clients and students is that, that when you engage in breathing practices, there are certain things that you are going to experience during the practice that are on the surface, right? So the tingliness, everything that we talk about in our frame, right? Those are the things that are direct experience. But then there are also these things that are going on subconsciously that maybe you're not noticing. And in fact, you're not likely to notice, right? For example, stimulation of adrenaline and the effect that the adrenaline has on the immune system. You're not going to perceive that, but these are real effects that are going on in the body that actually are going on for minutes and sometimes even hours when you finish the breathing session. And I think it's important that people understand that those effects are occurring. Even if you don't have a profound effect during a practice, you don't have this big, profound spiritual experience, doesn't mean that these other effects aren't occurring. And I think those other effects are important to know and to understand. Research shows, for example, that your brain gets flooded with about 300% more blood for about 30 minutes after a long breath hold, right? So there's just so many examples of that. And it's just a good reminder that there's so many things going on during a breathing practice beyond the direct experience. There are 3 practices that I have incorporated into my morning practice in particular. And I try to do this every day. And even if I don't get to it in the morning, I try to get to it at some point during the day. And one is this idea of balanced breathing. Breathing in for 5 seconds, nice and easy through the nose. Breathing out for 5 seconds, nice and easy through the nose. And I like to combine this with a gratitude practice, like they promote with at HeartMath. There's done a lot of research on this, and the effect that this practice has on the nervous system and the brain at the same time is really fascinating. This idea of entrainment, that if I breathe in for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, sustain that pattern and evoke a sense of gratitude and appreciation, the wave of breathing is changed, is altered. The heart rate is altered. Heart rate variability is altered. Blood pressure is altered, and brain waves are altered. All 5 are altered at the same time. They start to create this really nice, easy sine wave, nice and smooth, and they all entrain, which means that they're all making this sine wave simultaneously. And so it really puts the body and the brain in a certain state where you can actually be optimally effective in the next moment that you enter into life. And so I really love this idea. He called it HRV practice. I've also heard it called balanced breathing. And then if you combine the gratitude practice with it, is considered coherent breathing. So I love to do that every day. And I even use it as a micro hit throughout the day. If I know I'm going into a difficult meeting or something like that, then I'll do that whole practice. He also talks about breath holding, and there's just so many ways to incorporate breath holding. I like to do it during my morning practice in a breath pattern of 1-3-2. So maybe I breathe in for 7 seconds, hold on the inhale for 21 seconds, and then exhale for 14 seconds and continue that process. That first number could be anything. It could be 9, and then because it's a ratio of 1-3-2, it would be 9, 27, 18. So what I'll do is start at 7 and then go to 8 and then go to 9 and play around with that breath hold and see if I can increase it even. I've played around with 10 and 11. And those are fun. There's a lot of value in that practice as far as CO2 sensitivity. I also like to do superventilation. So several rounds of that, and at the end of it, sometimes hold on the exhale, sometimes hold on the inhale, sometimes hold on both. Just play around with, introducing a little bit of variety here and there. And then I like to do Kapalabhati, which he mentions in the book, which is using the stomach muscles to exhale sharply. So it's a strong exhale, but with a relaxed inhale. I really like this practice because it helps strengthen the breathing muscles, and in particular the inner intercostals, but also the abdominal muscles themselves. I also like to incorporate it into an abdominal workout sometimes. So it could be sit-ups or hollow rocks or something like that, eggshells, whatever it might be, and do those for 20 seconds. And then for 10 seconds, do Kapalabhati. And try in that 10 seconds to complete 20 pulses of Kapalabhati. So the way I do it is you can have your hand on your belly. It looks something like this. So it's a nice, quick exhale. And with that one, I was kind of pursing the lips and keeping the teeth fairly closed and pushing the air through the pursed lips and the teeth. That provides a little bit of resistance. But oftentimes I'll also just do it with the mouth closed and do it through the nose. And you can do, different different paces. So sometimes I'll do it really fast. Sometimes I'll do it slower. They're all useful. It's just a matter of determining, just playing around with it and seeing what works for you. So I think we're at about 10 minutes already. I hope this was useful, and I hope it is complete. Thank you so much.